I'm Dr. Teresa A. Smith, the host of Talk with TAS. Today I have with me Harold Phifer. He's a young man that's originally from Mississippi, that's had the opportunity to travel the world. He's been in some places that we don't necessarily want to be in. He's been in the Middle East as far as the war zones, and he has had a very interesting career. He's an author, he's been an air traffic controller, he's been an international contractor, and now he is an author. And so he's got two books out now. So he is a seasoned author, that's the way I'm going to put it. He's seasoned now. And so today he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey and also how he's been able to bounce back from some of the things that he encountered as a young man and growing up with, I think it's called Aunt Kathy, and all the
Right.
things that he's encountered since then. So, Harold, welcome to Talk with Taz.
Thank you. Glad to be here. How you guys doing?
We are great, and I'm so appreciative that we're able to connect. Now, Harold, I want to jump right in.
Hmm.
Your journey, it's not like anything we really hear about today or every day. You know, at what point did you realize that your story needed to be shared? And I'm going to say not just survived it, but needed to be shared.
Well, actually, when I was about 14, and yeah, I knew it was weird, and I felt I'm gonna write a story one day, and never did. And along with, I started trying to bury it, not don't want everybody to know, because I didn't want all this sympathy and all that as well. One thing I learned, if you want pity, you probably get it, but people won't invite you to the parties and all that.
Mhm.
So I wanted to fit in. So I like, I'm gonna kind of squash this. And so you fast forward, many years later, I was working in Afghanistan, and my camp got hit by a suicide bomber. And in the process, I'm thinking I'm going to be killed. And normally, what the Taliban would do, they would bomb, facility, and then whatever was left, they'd come in and try and shoot everybody until they were killed. So they bombed the place, and I'm sitting there like, I guess there's my nose, got two eyes, 10 fingers, I'm still here, and so trying to make it to safety. While I'm going through all that, my life started to flashback, and flashback was, you know, back to my childhood and all the trauma I went through, and at that point it hit me. I had always wanted to write a book, and I never wrote that book. Like I'm about to die, and I never wrote that book. So I said, "Then, Lord, if you let me make it out of here, I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna write that book."
Mhm.
So surviving chaos is that book. Surviving chaos, how I made it, how I found peace at a beach bar.
Mhm.
So after I did that, I kept writing, and um, I said I could do some different, and I start writing. I, got an alter ego and wrote fiction, and
Mhm.
one. So the follow up to my first fiction is A Fool Indeed, which is out now.
Mhm.
A Fool Indeed under Dean Conan, and so that's what got me going. Once I made that vow, I just kind of never stopped.
Well, now you mentioned the suicide bomber, and you saying to God, "If you get me out of this, I am
Hmm.
going to now write this story or start sharing my truth that you knew at 14 that you should share."
Right.
Now, in my bully, my aunt, and her final
Yeah.
gift,
Hmm.
you focus on emotional wounds. How did writing about Aunt Kathy and, I'm going to say Zion Gate Union Baptist Church, how did that impact your healing process?
Oh, it helped a lot. By the time I wrote my bully, my aunt, and her final gift, I like to say I pretty much healed. But what happened and how that book got written, which like I say, it's out now, people started to ask me about the first book. And I cast it in the first book. And how weird she was, the way she dominated my mom and dominated me. And I kept hearing it. I like, she needs a book. And I mean, once again, I had a whole lot of having told. Like, so writing this book would be easy. So yeah, so I started to compile all the stuff that happened with her, and came up with the book Surviving Chaos. I mean, My Bully, My Aunt, and Her Final Gift. One of the things I think I mentioned about her in the first book was about Aunt Kathy and Surviving Chaos. My mom, I was probably about 4 or 5. My mom wanted to buy a car, so she made the mistake of trying to get Aunt Kathy's opinion, about the car and everything. So I went with Aunt Kathy and my mom, and mom test drive, and nice car. It was old but nice. She
Mm-hmm.
did a good job. And my Aunt Kathy told her, no, this is not for you. Then took some of the money she had saved up. So she ended up, after that, going out buying a bicycle and never drove. And but once she got the bicycle, she became the bicycle lady. Anyway, fast forward, from the pain that I wasn't expecting. When I was about 18, 19, I bought a car. So we talking, what, 14 years after my mom first wanted to buy one. And she asked me if I would teach her to drive. And it hit me. And not that she was going to drive or get a car or drive she just wanted to learn. And that, it hit me, what my aunt had done to her.
Hmm. I keep getting chills. And it's not cold where I'm at. I keep getting chills. And it's interesting you mentioned, as I was reading my Billy, my aunt, and her final gift, there's a
Hmm.
part in there where you talk about, and I may get it wrong, so forgive me. But you're in Columbus. I think I'm seeing Columbus,
Yeah.
and you were going to get a bike, but then I think it
Hmm.
was something with Jerry, and
Yeah.
then you didn't get a chance to get your
Right.
bike. And so you started, finding scrap pieces to make a bike. I
Yeah.
think you called it
Yeah.
Frankenstein. And so then
Mr.
when you
Frankenstein.
tell me again how your mom saw Aunt Kathy's advice,
Hmm.
and it seemed like Aunt Kathy was quick to say, that's Satan or that's the devil. And then
Right.
it's almost like she would use that to then get what she wanted.
Right.
And then to see that she basically did the same thing to both of you.
Hmm.
You didn't get your bike
Right.
because it might have been her and Jerry or something. And then she took your mom's money and prevented her from getting, told it wasn't the right car for her. Took part of her money, so that
Hmm.
prevented her from not driving.
Right.
But then she became the bike lady.
Right.
And then later, she's going to ask you to teach her how to drive.
Right.
And when we talk about generational curses or family dynamics, it's so interesting to see how you show, and even as you're sharing with us now, how this one person
Mhm.
was so pivotal in impacting so many people's lives and the
She was.
importance of healing.
Right. Right. Yeah. I, I can't explain her. Um, and only thing, excuse me, that makes sense was she raised all her brothers, most of her brothers and sisters. She was the oldest. And my mom was the youngest girl, and then she had a brother, Uncle Dan, who was the youngest guy. So she really, really loved Uncle Dan, and I guess she stopped loving Mom because I guess Mom got all the men and she didn't. Okay, so, but they would rail on the phone, go on the phone for hours. Uncle Dan lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, and we live in Columbus, so they would always talk about his youngest child. Uncle Dan talked about his youngest daughter, and never talked about the rest. He had 6 daughters, but he only talked about the youngest.
Mhm.
And my Aunt Kathy, I guess fair enough, Jerry was, the kid that she wanted to be mom to, but she never mentioned the rest of us. So it was a weird dynamic. Um, but she was color struck for one, and Jerry was, fair skinned,
Yeah.
nice looking guy. I mean, I
Mhm.
give him his credit. He was, and very outgoing, had a dynamic smile. I mean, I was insanely jealous, and and it wasn't so much the look; it's more of how my aunt treated me. You know, because I was outgoing, I was smart, I was, because I mean,
Mhm.
for a while I was doing Jerry homework,
Mhm.
and I wasn't in school yet. I should do all this homework, you, s- But anyway, back to Uncle Dan and Aunt Kathy, they had this weird bond, and it was weird to me. So much so that he willed all his possession to Aunt Kathy, and Aunt Kathy willed all her possession to him. What really mattered was the part that he did more so than Aunt Kathy,
Yeah.
because Aunt Kathy, we weren't her kids, anything.
No.
So
No.
do whatever you want to,
Mhm.
right? Well, when he passed first, when he passed, of course, Aunt Kathy got possession of his house and other, little small business and other things. Well, she wanted to give all those things to Jerry.
Scary.
Yeah. So all my cousins, which is all within range of my age, they were they were upset, and they got a lawyer. Had to get a lawyer, and the lawyer
Mhm.
told them there's nothing they can do until she passes. And so once she passes, I mean, they should be writing a book too, because because I hate to say it, but I think they rejoice. I can't say I rejoice. I can't say that, but I think they did. you know.
You know, that's interesting, because I think immediately also the person has to be sick. And it's interesting that he was not concerned about her two older adults, and they're not in a a romantic relationship. If
Mhm.
didn't, that would bother me more than the pacing. He paced outside all that time
Mhm.
because he didn't like eating out, but
Right.
he didn't. Well, it appeared, we don't know. It appeared that he didn't have any problems with her sitting there feeding him
Nope.
in a restaurant full of people.
Nope. I'm thinking
But
that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Doc.
no, no, no. You go ahead.
No, I'm thinking he probably paced because this just me. He probably had built such a persona to his kids, and he knew if he came in, he would break it. You he probably that guy. I don't believe in eating out. It's a bunch of mess. I don't know. They beating you out of their money. I don't know. I never asked him about, it, but they said emphatically he is not coming in, and Kathy said emphatically he is, and there was no word exchange between the two. We're just sitting there in the restaurant, and she won out.
All I can say is Aunt Kathy was Aunt Kathy, guys. And y'all know I'm Southern. She was Aunt Kathy.
Yeah.
And when he got in there, she done put him back to being a little boy.
Right, right, exactly. But it get even more spooky. See, I told people, I said there are stories that I didn't put in the book that so you kind of get the bonus part. So you, she had a quintuplet bypass, which is five, and I up until that point I had never heard. I thought quadruple, the
Yeah.
most they do. She had a quintuplet. Okay, so anyway, so she comes, I pick her up, brought her in Memphis to with, before the surgery, and prayed with her day in day out up until the surgery, and the whole time though, I never let her, but the whole time I'm thinking, five, she ain't gonna make this. I never heard it, right? So the day before, or right before she went in, I called the Reverend and Reverend Keith. which was Eighth Coon Boom, right?
Mhm.
It was like I don't know. It was like me calling your relative and saying you told me I need that he would give me money.
Mhm.
It like when I called him, it was like I got the impression of why are you calling me? Um, what is this about? And I'm explaining, and he knew me from when I was 3 or 4, probably. Okay, so he knew who I was. So he didn't say anything. He didn't say what room she in. He didn't say me and the flock could be praying about her. Um, he didn't say how's she doing. Um, you know, when it's over, you make sure you give me a call. Nothing. So I hang up. I call Uncle Dan. Nothing. Same thing. Same weirdest blew my mind. He didn't say what room she in, how long she been there, you know, let me know, or let me talk to her, or call me when she's out of service. Nothing. And it blew my mind. Then I called my brother Jerry, the golden child. And he was kind of the same way. He was just kind of, And he and I had a terse relationship anyway.
Uh,
But still, this is your Aunt Kathy. This is the person that
Love you.
treated you, yeah, I mean, treated you, like you were the second coming.
Mhm.
Okay. He said nothing. Matter of fact, he hangs up. I call him back. And I'm like, hey, why'd you hang up? He didn't say anything. And I start to go in on him, hangs up again. And I'm like, it was the weirdest thing. That's what I'm saying. It's like, at that point, I felt like I was missing something. I already had my opinion about her, but I
Mhm.
felt like,
Mhm.
geez, her inner working, her,
Mhm.
her
Facebook.
ride or die people.
Yeah.
Yes, it was weird, very weird.
But that goes back to the final, well, not the final chapter, but one of the last chapters in the book when Reverend Pastor Keith is doing the eulogy, and then at some point you don't tag team, but it's like you basically allude to the fact he let me clean that up. You alluded to the fact that he knew Aunt Kathy.
Hmm. He
He
did.
knew her.
He
He knew
did.
the evilness that was in Aunt Kathy.
He did. Yeah.
And so, so they were, I'm not saying this is what that was happening, but they had faith that God was going to bring her through that part. I am going to say that,
Right.
but they knew that they were going to have to deal with Kathy after, which was in that healing and recuperation period.
Okay.
So, and I'm just making this up. I don't know what they thought. So there's no reason for them to be rushing now. Do you understand? Because I'm from the South. You know what I'm getting at.
Right.
Ain't no reason to be rushing over there right now because we're going to have to deal with our cousin. And we're
Right.
gonna take this little reprieve while she's going through her surgical procedure. Things are gonna be quieter at the church. We
Yeah.
might can get some things done that we couldn't get done because that
Right.
character was there. I'm just saying. I'm
No, you're
sure it's
right.
none of that hell. But I know I can't. She probably
Yes.
related to me. She just got another name. You see. So I know these type of people. I've I've they
Yes.
I, I've known them my whole life. So, but like I said, to the outsider, it's like, oh my God. He said
Yeah.
nobody, and then the one, the golden boy, gonna go ahead and hang. Well, maybe it was an accident. No, he hung up. But but to look at this from another perspective, you have worn many hats, and you overcome a lot of trauma, and we've chuckled about it and everything, but it's not a chuckling matter. But we're on
Right.
the other side of it now. What part of your identity has remained steady as you've had all these different roles, from air traffic controller, been an independent contractor, and you correct me if I'm wrong, because I think you were in, and I may be wrong, were you in the military for
No,
short?
but
You
no,
went
but
to
I've been working with him for about 15 years now,
yes,
and
okay.
mhm,
So given all the different roles, what part of your identity has remained stable as you have continued to transform into the
Wow.
person that we're talking with today?
Wow. um, I've been confident, quite confident for one for sure. Um, my mom, and this is weird though. This is weird. My mom, like I said, schizophrenic, and she would try to humiliate me every chance she got, and so, and I mean, to the point that it was constant. I mean, she would do it. She would talk to the wall. She would do things. She would do things in public. So kids are mean. So I got rid of kids so many ways, to the point that it's hard to embarrass me. That's been consistent for a long time. I may be shocked, or I may you know give
Mhm.
it some thought, but then it's like, oh well, I'm going in, or whatever. It's hard to humiliate me
Mhm.
because my mom took all the room on that one. Yeah.
How did that help you to navigate the different disruptions that were occurring? And even with the suicide bomber when you were in Afghanistan, how did that sort of mindset help you to, I guess I want to say, overcome or manage those different disruptions that were happening?
With the suicide bomb, two things happened. It was kind of like after it was over, it was more like, "Hmm, maybe I should quit this now. I've done enough. Um, but I don't know. I guess all the trauma that I did see, it makes you put things in perspective. Um, a lot of things that you think are bad, not nearly as bad as or, you know, so it helps me, I guess, in a sense, get up from, we all go through some kind of depression. It helps me get through it. It's like, this is nothing. Okay, if it all go bad, so what? I've had worse.
Mhm.
Um, I never forget uh, when I first started my career, we had to study a lot. I mean, and I remember thinking, man, I should try and study when I was at home, and it would be too cold because you got cracks in the walls and in the floors, and you're hungry. I said, they feeding me. I got a good place to stay. I can keep studying. you know. So it's things like this, like I've gone through worse things and trying to pull it together. So this is not nearly you know the worst.
What helped you not walk away but rise above it? What advice would you give them to help them to rise above it? Because you have risen above it. So, what
Right.
advice would you give that person?
Um, a lot of time we make it worse. I mean, we kind of know, we identify it, we see it, and you make it worse sometimes by trying to beat it, trying to overcome it, rather than just I can quit and start anew. And we hate starting over, regardless what it is. We always hate starting over. We hate.
Mhm.
I was. I had this nice car, and now I got to drive a Pinto. You hate starting over. Or I was in this $500,000 house, and now I'm in a small apartment.
Mhm.
People hate starting over, and it's only life. It's only things, and your peace of mind is far valuable than things. And
Mhm.
it's something. And a lot of times, people wait till they go to their lowest to realize that. And I'm saying, don't wait till you go to your lowest. And you may not have enough fight left by the time you get to the lowest. You know, yeah. But
That is so important. Now, if you could, looking back, where you are right now,
mhm.
what would you say to your younger self, the version of you that may be still caught in pain, survival, or silence, what would you say to that person?
Ooh, stay the course. Keep believing in yourself. Um, Definitely move away from Aunt Kathy sooner. It took me a while to completely move away from her. Um, Two things, and one is spiritual. Um, I was in college at Jackson State, and I was about, this is my second college. I went to Mississippi State first, and Jackson State. And I was like, man, why can't I find success? Why can't I, because I didn't really want to go to college the second term, but I had to. Didn't have a job, had to. So I asked myself, or God, so what is wrong? I think I'm pretty smart and I'm driven. I'm a good person. What am I doing wrong? And I promise you, at some point, when I say at some point, week, month, I can't tell you when, I got a voice that said, "You don't believe in yourself,"
Mm.
and that's all it is. And I start believing. Once I start believing in myself, I start getting better. Job offers, uh, you know, dates, um, just things just start to happen, and it was just so weird. Started to do better in college. It was just weird. And all because I didn't believe in myself. The other one, like I said, leave Aunt Kathy sooner. Um, Even though about 12, and I talked in the book when the last beating she gave me, I was about 11. And I started to put some distance, but I didn't put enough distance. But I was about 18, I had bought a car, and me and my brother got into a fight because he wanted to possess my car because he's Jerry. So I finally got the courage and got the better, beat him up. Not beat him up, but got the better.
Mhm.
Well, all our life, he used to beat me up, and I run out Kathy, hey, this dude beat me up, picking on me. She never said anything. Put a Band-Aid on my wound, send me back home, whatever. So the first time I got the better of Jerry, she comes over and she give me this conversation. I'm about 18. She like, who do you think you are? You're not gonna be fighting anybody around here, And the whole time growing up, I never looked away when she talked to me, never rolled my eyes, never looked down, never talked under my breath, uh, never, gave any aggressive um, stance, anything. So while she had this conversation, you're not gonna do this, and you're definitely not gonna, touch Jerry again. She showed me what she'll be working with. She had a 38 special with me, and that
Ooh.
and that broke me because I had never been disobedient to her, never,
Mm.
and that just took all the air out. But and then when you realize you feel bad for, I guess, expecting better of her, let's say from 11 until that point, you know, like man, I wasted all those years thinking there was something there, you know. Yeah, that that broke me.
But it didn't keep you down.
No, no. I was I was on my way. Um, Even Reverend Keith talked about it. Like, I support you you going to college, When he guilt me into doing the eulogy. Like,
Mhm.
so I think he saw it as wild as I was kind of a little menace. Um, Probably for attention, because Jerry was getting it and I wasn't.
Mhm.
And but he saw that I had something that probably could amount to something, Yeah.
And now tell the audience how many books you got, how they can keep up with you, and where they can get your books at.
Okay. All right. The big one right now. Hmm. I've I've written about seven, published five. Okay. And this is my new one. My bully, my aunt. and or found a gift. The paperback is definitely on called Book Baby, Book Baby Bookshop, or you can order on Amazon. It's on back order, so it's gonna take them about 2 weeks to get it to you. But Book Baby Bookshop, you get it immediately. Um, you'll get the ebook or the audiobook. You can get it immediately from Amazon. Um, my other book that I got out, I write under a pen name, and I hate to share it, but since I'm not there yet, I have to share my pen name. Called Dean Coney,
Mhm.
and the first story, it's a series. The first one was called "Fool Me Thrice." Money changes everything, and it's this character. He's a womanizer. He had a lot of money, lost it all, and he's trying to go straight. He's trying to find love and you know find a new life and trying to find money. And the books take you on that journey. And then the follow up to that one is what's out now. um, a Fool Indeed. The same character. The character name is Charlie Moe. He's back and. Well, he got taken for a lot of money in the first book, so he's back trying to get his money back. But it's going to lead him on some places he wasn't prepared for. So
Mhm.
the love of his life, all that's in jeopardy. So, A Fool Indeed by Dean Coney, and it's on Amazon, ebook, paperback, hardcover, and eventually the audiobook will be there.
Right. And I've downloaded Aunt Kathy and the last one with this young man that you just holding up. I
Yes.
downloaded that on both of those on my Kindle. So I know
Okay.
it's like Amazon. So I downloaded both of those. And how can people keep up with you, Harold?
Yes, my website is riseandread.com. You probably see it in the
Mhm.
background. Um, or my Facebook is Harold Phifer 2024. Same thing on Instagram, Harold Phifer 2024. I guess if you want to go over to X, I'm at HE Phifer, like Hotel Echo Papa, Hotel India, Foxtrot Echo Romeo. HE Phifer is my handle at Twitter. And like I said, hopefully you stick with me, follow me, see me on some of these platforms like yours. I'm doing a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, trying to get the word out. Getting quite a few requests. I'm loving it. People loving the books. Amazon is having a hard time keeping the book in stock. Um, Hopefully, the same thing happened with A Fool Indeed by Dean Conan. But more than likely, you'll see me on some of the platforms. I hope people like and share when you see me on your social media. I want to keep spreading the word, and I like what's going on. Having fun with it.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do. Have fun with what you're doing. So you're not really working, and that's a good thing. And I can tell you guys, I have been reading my bully, my aunt, and her final gift, which is Aunt Kathy. She's a hoot. And so you will enjoy that book. And I can only imagine once I start reading the other one. Our audience, brother, thank you so much for joining us. And remember, before you go trying to take care of somebody else, please make sure you take care of yourself first. Bye now.